What is up, guys? Today we're going to try making a freaking... I actually don't. I forgot. We're gonna make a castle! Give me all this stuff, okay? Oh, let's make a... I had my... I'd be wondering, why do I... Look at you! You don't need shears. Yes, I do. We're gonna make a base out of a tree, and that'll probably be our main base.
Already made the mountain road and Juan Peroni dangerous. What happened next in the situation was worse. A woman walked to the edge of a deep ravine and stood directly under a crumbling mountain cliff. Small rocks and dust were already tumbling down the slope, yet she refused to move away. She raised both of her arms toward the sky and began shouting at the moving earth. Dozens of people watched from a distance and screamed for her to step back. However, the woman ignored the warnings. Moments later, a small wave of mud fell just a few feet from her boots. She still didn't flinch. Suddenly, a second wave of over a ton of earth and stone burst forward from the cliff, and it engulfed her completely in a thick cloud of dust. The entire group of onlookers could only watch in horror as the woman vanished under the heavy pile of rubble. Local authorities arrived soon after to begin a desperate search for any sign of life. They later identified the victim, 36-year-old Santusa Nina Hualpa. She had been walking along the mountain road in the Cusco region of Peru when the disaster struck. Witnesses noticed that Santusa appeared intoxicated before she walked toward the danger. This condition likely clouded her judgment, leading her to believe she could stop the moving mountain, or that it just wasn't actually going to fall. Ultimately, the police and firefighters searched through the night to locate her remains in the deep valley. It wasn't until the next day that they found her body buried under a massive pile of stones. As a result, officials closed all the roads in the area to prevent anyone else from getting caught in a collapse. Now, the cases so far were disturbing, but those in the next levels, they might keep you up at night. Subscribe, keep going. Level 3, out of control. Two friends climbed into a giant transparent ball at a Russian ski resort on January 3rd, 2013. Within seconds, that rolling fun turned into a nightmare. The Zorb started down the snowy path at Gombe Ski Resort with laughter echoing from inside. The ball suddenly veered sharply left, hurtling down a steep ravine instead of following the gentle slope. An attendant immediately started chasing after it on foot, desperately trying to catch up. The Zorb tumbled faster and faster down the mountainside. It careened out of control for roughly 1.5 kilometers, throwing the men helplessly around inside the inflatable sphere. Onlookers watched in horror as the Zorb disappeared from view down the ravine. According to reports, the ball eventually plunged off a cliff-like drop before coming to rest near a frozen lake. Two men were violently ejected and landed about 10 meters apart on the snow. Rescuers had to ski down a sheer rocky gully to reach them. They dragged both men back up the hill. One died on the way to the hospital. The other survived with serious injuries, including a concussion, multiple lacerations, and deep cuts. The victim who died was later identified as 27-year-old...
Yeah, but first, we have to keep this as our main house, guys.
Catastrophic spinal injuries, including a broken neck, fractured
Also, if you hear my video, don't mind it.
His friend, 33-year-old Vladimir...
It's just stuff I listen to when I'm bored and I don't have anything to do. Now we have to make this look like a real tree.
Was completely unlicensed. The operator had bought the ball for personal use, and it was the resort's first day of operation. There were no fences, no safety barriers, no secure stopping area. The slope wasn't even suitable for zorbing, as operating in mountainous, rocky, and snowy conditions is very dangerous. As a result, Russian authorities detained one of the ride's organizers and started an investigation to determine if criminal negligence occurred. The wrestling match. February 26, 2026. The cheering crowd circled the dirt wrestling pit to watch a test of strength during a holiday celebration. Two men grabbed each other's belts and began grappling for control as music played in the background. Suddenly, the younger wrestler gained a powerful grip and lifted his opponent high into the air. He slammed the man down onto the thin mat with incredible force. However, the man didn't land on his back or shoulders. He hit the ground head first at a sharp angle, leaving his body to go completely limp the moment he touched the floor. The referee stopped the match immediately because the man wasn't moving or breathing properly. At the same time, bystanders rushed into the ring to help. The fallen wrestler remained motionless on the dirt. Medical teams scrambled to get him to a hospital, but the damage was already done. The doctors discovered that the man had suffered a catastrophic break in his neck. Now, investigations into the tragedy later identified the victim as 44-year-old local resident NBT. This happened during a Lunar New Year festival in the Tai Lai hamlet near Hanoi, Vietnam. The match was part of a traditional wrestling custom that had been around for centuries. Officials revealed that there was a massive skill gap between the two men in the ring. One was a trained semi-professional athlete, and the victim was an amateur with no formal wrestling experience. Furthermore, it was discovered that the victim had been drinking alcohol before he stepped into the arena. His state of intoxication meant his reflexes were slow and his body could not protect itself during the fall. NBT passed away the very next morning. Ultimately, authorities decided not to bring charges against the other wrestler and ruled the incident an unintentional accident. The Stone Stage. A loud, energetic celebration was going on at a villa in Arita, Sicily. But within seconds, everything came to a horrifying stop. The birthday guy was dancing in front of friends and relatives. Gigi D'Agostino's tracks filled the air while guests clapped and cheered him on. He stepped onto a small concrete stage near the entrance, moving to the rhythm. That structure wasn't a stage at all. It was actually a thin cover for a deep artesian well hidden in the ground. The moment he put his full weight on it, the cover gave way beneath him. The man vanished into the dark void in the blink of an eye. A woman standing just inches away rushed to the edge and looked down into the pitch-black hole. She let out a harrowing scream that silenced the music and sent the entire party into a panic. The drop was nearly 80 feet deep, meaning anyone who fell would face a long, terrifying plunge. To make matters worse, the bottom of the narrow shaft was filled with 30 feet of freezing water. Emergency crews arrived at the scene shortly after midnight to begin a desperate rescue mission. Firefighters worked for hours to reach the bottom of the concrete cylinder, but the narrow concrete shaft made recovery impossible without specialized equipment, so divers had to be called in. 4 hours passed before his body was finally pulled from the well. It turned out that he had hit his head during the fall, leaving him with a fatal injury before he even touched the water. Investigators later identified the victim as 40-year-old Antonio Andreani. This birthday was extra special because Antonio was a cancer survivor who had beaten a tumor 11 years earlier. He wanted this party to represent his victory over death and his hopes for the future. Ultimately, the prosecutor of Trapani opened a manslaughter investigation, placing the villa's owner under formal inquiry for the incident.
I've been needing more art in my bedroom and recently painted this canvas. However, I wasn't quite sure the best way to hang it, so I turned to ChatGPT. It gave me a list of all the materials I needed and an easy step-by-step. I'm so happy with how it turned out.
Bite Challenge. On April 8, 2019, a Japanese